Hey everyone, it's Caitlin and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to show you everything I eat in a day where I am not at home at all. I had an early morning appointment today and I have a bunch of errands and other appointments throughout the day, ending with my yoga teacher training at night, and that doesn't end until 10 p.m. So I needed to have my breakfast, lunch, and dinner prepped for this day. So I originally planned on vlogging today, but I was thinking about it and I feel like you guys care more about me making the actual food than me talking about me eating the actual food. So I actually decided to film my meal prep for this day. I made everything yesterday. It took less than 2 hours. I think I did it pretty efficiently. So I thought I would walk you all through that. So for breakfast, I actually went to a coffee shop and I did have an oat milk latte along with my muesli and fresh fruit. And then my lunch and dinner, I kind of ate in the car / at yoga teacher training. For lunch, I made myself a nice little salad and some roasted sweet potatoes. And then for dinner, I made myself a sushi bowl. So that is everything that I'm eating today. And now I will just show you how to make it. So for breakfast, I made myself a muesli, like a single serving muesli, but I thought my camera was on, but it wasn't. So I kind of already started, but you didn't miss much other than me getting something on my sweatshirt. I just added some rolled oats into a glass jar, along with this unflavored protein powder. You can also use another plant-based protein powder if you want, or skip it. I just like that one because it makes it creamy. Then I also added some hemp hearts for some extra plant-based protein. And then I added some coconut flakes, some slivered almonds, some pumpkin seeds, and some flax seeds. Muesli is just essentially oats with a bunch of different nuts and seeds, so you can use whatever you have in your pantry. I have an official recipe on my blog, so I'll link that below if you want to make a larger batch. Then I just added some cinnamon and I added some coconut yogurt. This makes it nice and tangy and gives it another creaminess. And then I actually didn't have almond milk or any plant-based milk at the time, so I just used water because the coconut yogurt is still creamy enough where the muesli itself will be creamy, and there's a ton of other healthy fats in there already, so I wasn't too concerned about it. So I just mixed that till it was nice and even, and then I put a lid on it and I put it in the fridge to thicken for a few hours before I topped it with anything else. And then once the muesli had thickened up, as you can see, it's not as runny as it was before. It thickened up a little more overnight, but whatever. Anyways, I topped it with some frozen blueberries. Usually I like to mix in frozen blueberries right before because I kind of like them when they're really cold and hard, but obviously they were gonna melt in the fridge anyway, so I just went ahead and mixed them, but I did keep them to the side. And then breakfast was pretty much done, so I kind of prepped my lunch and dinner at the same time, just based on how long certain things were going to take to prep. So I was going to make crispy tofu for my dinner, and before I baked the tofu, I needed to press it. So I drained a block of firm tofu. You can also use extra firm or super firm for this recipe. And I just used my tofu press to press it down and get some of that extra liquid out. I would highly recommend it. It's a lot more convenient than stacking books on a piece of tofu covered in a paper towel. But then in the meantime, I went ahead and prepped some of my other lunch ingredients. So I went ahead and chopped it a Japanese sweet potato. I use this for my lunch, and I pretty much just love the flavor of this by itself. So I just chopped this into wedges and then put it onto a baking tray lined with a reusable silicone mat. And sometimes I just bake it plain, but today I was having it with my lunch, which had some more savory things in it. So I did coat it in a spray, like a light spray of avocado oil, just to keep it from drying out like a lot of sweet potato does in the oven. And then I just added some salt as well, and I went ahead and popped that into the oven, which had preheated by now. And then while the sweet potato was baking, I went ahead and prepped the rest of the things for my lunch. So I went ahead and had it alongside with a salad. Wow, that was a really inconvenient and roundabout way to describe things, but anyways, I'm making a salad. And first things first, I destemmed some kale, and then I went ahead and chopped that up. And then I wanted more than just kale on my salad, so I also added some herbs that were almost going bad in my fridge, and I needed to use them up anyway, so I chopped some parsley and some dill. I really love adding fresh herbs to my salad because I just feel like it adds a lot more flavor and freshness. And then I also thinly sliced some celery on my mandolin to give a little bit of crunch. And then I eyeballed a dressing. I just added some apple cider vinegar, tahini, and this Portland mustard. It's a spin-off of Portland ketchup. I don't know. I think you can get it in places besides Portland, but it's kind of like Dijon mustard. And then I just added some black pepper and whisked all of that together. It was a little thick, but I was massaging it into the kale, like you'll see right here anyways, so I didn't really care that it was thick. So I just poured that over the chopped kale, and then I used my hands to massage it into the kale. And if you never massaged kale before, I've mentioned this a few times, but it makes it less bitter, it makes it more enjoyable to eat, and it really infuses the dressing into the kale. So I would highly recommend it if you haven't done it yet. But then after I massaged my kale, I added in the freshly chopped herbs and the celery, and you want to add that in after because these ingredients don't need to be massaged and they'll break down more and get a little mushy. Oh, and then I also had some leftover dill pickle sauerkraut, which is kind of random in the salad, but I needed to use it up, and it ended up being good anyways, and there was already dill in the salad, so I don't know, I just added it in, and then I mixed everything together. And that's pretty much my salad base, but I like to have some healthy fats, some complex carbs, and a good source of plant-based protein in all of my meals. So I had some cooked chickpeas in my fridge, and I just added some of those to the salad to round it out and make it more filling and satiating. So then I just packed my salad into a Tupperware container, mushed down the top, and sealed the lid on it. And then at this point in time, I realized that I probably should have already cooked my brown rice because that takes 45 minutes, and I was making like a sushi-inspired sushi bowl for dinner. You'll see in a second. It's just short grain brown rice and water. And then at this point, my tofu had pressed probably for about 30-ish minutes or so. So I went ahead and unscrewed it. And then I chopped it up using my semi-dirty knife for my salad, but I'm not a picky person and I don't really care, and this wasn't for a fancy recipe video or anything. So I just put it in a bowl, and then I went ahead with making my crispy tofu recipe. So I coated it in about a tablespoon of tamari, and then I tossed that all up, and then once the cubes were nice and evenly brown, I sprinkled on 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. And this recipe serves 2, but I went ahead and made the whole thing anyways. I just took half for my dinner, then I saved half for meal prep for another day. So at this point, the tofu is nice and evenly coated, and then same thing, I just lined a baking tray with a reusable silicone mat. Then I plopped the tofu on there, and I did spread it out a little just because it crisps up a lot easier if there's even space between all of the cubes. So I arranged my tofu and then put that in the oven with the roasted sweet potato. And then while those were cooking away, I went ahead and prepped the rest of the ingredients for my sushi bowl. I just peeled and thinly sliced a carrot on my mandolin again. This is a huge time saver. I would highly recommend using a mandolin. And then I had this cucumber that was left in the fridge, but we overloaded our fridge and part of it got frozen. So it was actually too soft to use the mandolin, but I didn't want to waste it. So I chopped it up and then used that in my sushi bowl as well. But for the record, if it was hard, I would have just used the mandolin. And then I decided to be a little untraditional here and add some kimchi to my sushi bowl just because I really needed to use this jar up. So I didn't want huge pieces of kimchi, so I just used my knife to roughly chop that a bit. And those are pretty much all of the condiments for my sushi bowl dinner, so I went ahead and set those aside. And I was done with all my veggie prep at this point, so I took all my leftover scraps and put them in a bag. I keep this in my freezer and use it to make my own homemade vegetable broth, so nothing goes to waste. And then after I make my broth, I actually go ahead and put it in our compost, but I like to get the most out of my veggie scraps, and I really think it tastes even better than the store-bought stuff, and it's free, so if you haven't done it yet, I would highly recommend it. But anyways, I digress. At this point, my sweet potato wedges were nice and golden, so I went ahead and transferred those into a Tupperware container. I actually like to do it while they're still warm because sweet potatoes do dry out a little in the oven if you roast them in wedges, and this way they sort of steam after you put the lid on and seal them. So there's my little pro tip / life hack for you guys. But then at this point, my rice was finished cooking, and as you can see, I kind of overcooked it a bit. We got some brown crunchy pieces, but it actually was okay. It was like a nice crunchy texture in the sushi bowl. And I just added some rice vinegar to this, which helps make the rice a little bit more sticky. And then I added some tamari and chili oil and sesame seeds to this as well to pre-season my rice and not have to add any condiments after, which makes this a lot more easy for travel. And then also when you just coat it in the rice or coat the seasonings in the rice gets more flavor to it too. And yes, I did add a lot of sesame seeds to that. I'm realizing that as I watch this video, but it was really tasty. So after my rice was nice and mixed, I went ahead and assembled my sushi bowl. And again, I just wanted some greens with my dinner, so I untraditionally added some baby spinach in there, and it's raw, but baby spinach wilts really easily with heat. So then I just added the hot rice into the bowl with the spinach, and then by the time I had it for dinner, some of the spinach had wilted and it was more of a enjoyable texture, I guess. And then I just added in all of the veggies that I had chopped, mix those around just a little bit. I mixed it more later while I was eating, and then I just topped it all off with half of that crispy tofu that had conveniently finished baking in the oven at just about this time. And then the last step to make it more of a sushi bowl was to use some clean kitchen scissors to thinly slice a sheet of nori. If you don't like fishy or soupy taste, you could totally leave this out, but I actually quite enjoy it in my sushi bowl. So again, went ahead and sealed that, and my dinner was all prepped, and I think that's pretty much it for my meal prep. So I got my dinner sushi bowl my lunch salad, the breakfast muesli, and the roasted sweet potato wedges, which were the other part of my lunch. And I just had the cooler that actually perfectly fit all of that. But now let's talk snacks. I brought 2 apples to snack on. I did end up having both of them. I think I had one in like the afternoon and one for dessert. And then I also packed this homemade protein bar. I've been trying to make my own protein bars because for some reason I have a lot of unflavored protein powder. So this was like a chocolate peanut butter protein bar. I need some work, but you know, I'm trying to use up food here, and it was enjoyable enough. And I put it in a reusable silicone bag. And then I packed this chocolate bar. I thought I was gonna have it for dessert, but I was actually pretty full, and I ended up having the protein bar for dessert and not the chocolate bar. And I also packed some tea because I wanted to be prepared, but again, I don't think I drank this. But I just always like to pack a little extra when I'm out of the house all day, so that way I don't go hungry. And yep, that's pretty much it though. This is what a full day of eating looks like for me. Kind of weird to see it all at once. Alright guys, and that's it for this video. Leave a comment below and let me know if you like more vlog style what I eat in a day, or if you prefer to show me making the food. That would actually be really helpful to know. And if you're new here, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to my channel if you so desire. I post 1 to 2 new videos every week, and I happily take video suggestions as well. And I also have a whole playlist dedicated to vegan meal prep, as well as a playlist with what I eat in a day videos. So if you're looking for more inspiration on how to eat/live a plant-based diet, I will link those either here in the video or in the description below too. I think that is it, so I hope you guys are having an awesome day and continue to have one whatever time of day it is for you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye!